canyons, there are canyons, they are yawning in the night. They are rank and bitter anger, they are all devoid of light. They are fear and blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and so foreboding, and their road so very wide. They are fear and blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and so foreboding, and their road so very wide. Let us build a bridge of music, let us cross with a song. Let us span another canyon, let us right another wrong. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. We will tell them building bridges.
We will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. Thank you, Bill Staines. Welcome to Bridges Programming. This is World Call In. We're with you with Susan Comont next to me.
Hello.
And Dennis Carius on the phone line.
Hello, Jeff. Hello.
Hi, Dennis.
And we also have with us me, Jeff Beller. And we're going to be talking about, if you look on your screen, you'll notice our programming rhetoric, which is bridgesprogramming.com. We have Human Renewable Energy Measure, which is a measurement that pretty much stops the problems of bankruptcy. It pretty much stops the problems of war. And we'll go into some detail on it. And I want to bring out today that one of my neighbors next to me on my in my community is got the media attention, and he's saying he wants to kill my other neighbors in the other part of my community. Did you hear that, Dennis?
Well, I mean, I heard that like across the ocean.
Well, that's still part of my. Well, across the ocean.
I mean, I think we're being brainwashed by mainstream
well,
media.
isn't
What's
but,
really causing this.
Right, but isn't the guy across the ocean part of my planet and part of my community?
They're neighbors.
Oh, I agree. Yeah,
So
my neighbor. Right.
So what I'm trying to get at is my neighbor in what they call the United Kingdom. They put that together so they can control the economy many thousands of years ago before Christ. They put that together, and the same people are saying we got to kill our neighbors. And our friend Tony Blair, our neighbor Tony Blair, is saying we have to take them out. And he understands how difficult it is and how complicated. Well, it's not complicated. We have to stop putting our other neighbors in slavery around the planet. So our planet is all of our community, and this is our planet.
Our spaceship.
Our spaceship. And if we're killing people in our spaceship, within our spaceship, we have to stop doing that.
Because it endangers everybody.
Right, and it endangers our our atmosphere, our life support systems, which is our air, water, and soil, and we're killing one another. So, and we're only doing that so we can take the advantage of other people on our spaceship. We're making them into slaves for us, and that's what we don't want to do. And if we stop doing that, it'll basically help a lot of things going on. You can now go online and see us live. If you're hearing us live, you can go online and watch us live. So please don't hesitate to do that. Just go on to YouTube Bridges Programming Live, and it'll pop up. You'll see our funny faces, and you'll see how serious we think we want to be with the work we're doing. But the way to stop this problem, I think, is using a measurement, which we don't have, and you and I were talking about local politics in New York State, where there's a Speaker of this House who doesn't pay to mention his name, but he's been the Speaker for many years, and he's been found guilty of all kinds of bribery, and that happened to the Republicans as well as Democrats. So it's a question of just not doing it, and obviously the laws don't work because the laws are skewed to help the very rich and the very powerful. Anyway, that's the story. So I'm going to let Susan go ahead and give a little talk here.
I thought you had an idea.
I just put it out.
Did you bring out as much as you wanted?
Well, I brought it out just to get the premise out there.
But you had another idea today about why.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
making a big deal about a solar
yeah,
company
and
failing in
there's
Spain.
And
But you had some ideas about that because we had that Solyndra in California.
right.
And you have an idea how that relates to the way
Right.
economics is
Right.
impacting
The other problem we're running into is the other problem we're running into is there's another solar manufacturing company that is going out of business, a big company, and
I think it's in Spain. We
Spain.
had a few, we were giving them some support from the United States, not a whole lot because they have some smaller companies, I understand, in the United States.
Right.
So they were being, subsidized.
it's like the
But not as
Solyndra.
much as Spain, as their banking system was heavily invested in this.
Yeah, but the point we're making is it doesn't matter if it's a solar manufacturing company or any company. The way the system works is we only have to pay 1/3 of our taxes if we're unlucky. Most people who have money don't even pay that much. But years ago, a big corporation didn't go bankrupt because of the tax structure was set up differently. So now I can
Just
be
by happenstance.
well, just for whatever reason.
It evolved that
But
way.
the point I'm making is that if I run a company and I get money from you and I, the governments help sponsor us, and I draw myself a salary of, let's say, $3 million a year, I'll never pay legally more than about $1 million. So I made myself $2 million a year. And after 10 years, I got $20 million plus whatever I can finagle. So then but meanwhile, I'm bankrupting the company because the company doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. And I don't care as long as I can get mine. So if we had the tax structure by happenstance, like we had back before Ronald Reagan days, 40 years ago, it couldn't do that because the people didn't want to pay high taxes, and the company would invest money into their employees, and they invest money into their
And why would they
resources
do this?
because they didn't want to pay taxes.
Right. So instead of paying the better into the better tax system at that time, they would try to avoid it by
And
then reinvesting
into
their own company and their employees and everything, because that was a way to dodge it.
And then the tax the investors or the stockholders wouldn't want to pay more because it would put them into a different tax bracket.
Right. And so this is a side effect of something that had a different intent. Like we were talking about in our last program. The intent was to have these companies pay more taxes.
To be fair.
But they figured out a way to dodge it. But the dodge was actually beneficial at that time to their employees and to further stabilizing the company. But what you're saying is that now, because these companies did become so wealthy and they have a whole pool of lawyers they can hire to create laws that benefit them over the last, 60 years or so?
40 years.
Yeah, 40 years. They have been able to change the tax system so they don't even have to dodge it anymore because it's so minuscule.
Right.
And so then people who are at the top of the feeding trough at the company, they can say, okay, well, there's lots of profits here. I think, I think I need a little more than when I and hey, my buddy here, I'll help you too, as long as we keep all this kind of amongst ourselves and eventually, who cares if the company goes down? We'll just start another one somewhere else. And it's interesting because, these players, and that's what they are. They're players. They are not thinking in terms of long range. They're thinking in terms of, what can I get, and when do I have to pull the plug, and when shall I pull the plug and go on to something else, and that expression, devil take the hindmost. So here you've got a situation that is playing completely into the hands of people who have no vested interest in their companies. They only have an interest in their own aggrandizement,
Dennis
financial aggrandizement. And banks are involved in this. It's not just the CEO at the top. They make deals with the banks. The banks, they cry bloody murder as they are trying to say
the oil companies.
Right
the oil
now.
we're losing so much money because
right.
we got to get
because they
losing.
could, and if you really want to be sinister about it, they could be placing these people in solar companies to show that they're somehow dysfunctional and failing. All companies have this problem. All corporations are vulnerable to these taxes. To these lack of taxes that can bring some of the extra value back into the community. They are not doing that. The taxes are not doing that anymore. The economic system is not serving people. And it's serving a small elite of people, but not the general population. But it's interesting because, if special interests in the oil venue, which includes, nuclear, gas, coal, etc., they all have similar desires not to see solar and renewables and wind and sustainable energy practices to become dominant. Of course, they don't want that. So they can plant their people, their quote people, into companies that are startups as solar startups, for solar electric generation, vast generation plants. I mean, they can get them going, and they'll get their government subsidies, and they'll get the communities very excited and employ a lot of people. And then they can pull the plug whenever they feel like it, and and give a bad taste to people, like Solyndra was one of them, and that's what everybody turns to. You hear it on NPR over and over again. Oh, look what happened to Solyndra. They walked off with government funds and screwed the taxpayer. This is happening. This can happen anytime,
right.
Anywhere. And of course, now we're seeing it in Spain. But there is an interesting exception right now, and that's China, because it is what they call a command economy, which is not desirable. We don't want tyrants. We don't want, to lose our freedoms, our individual rights. But China, a side effect of them having a command economy, which means that the government says, okay, this is what we're doing. There's not going to be any voting on this. They have actually, and this is another, who knows? There's some very, very bright people, obviously, right now operating within the Chinese government that are, I guess, selfless and intelligent and have science backgrounds, and they understand that the future is in renewable energy for energy generation. And they've got right now, I mean, even though we hear over and over again about the pollution in Shanghai, and that's what you hear on the news, what they're doing is building the largest solar electric generating plants in the world. 4 million solar panels in China operating at this time. They have got in their country right now the largest arrays of solar, of wind. This is what they're doing, and they have the foresight, and they get it. They know that this is the future of energy generation. They have a huge population. that they're just trying right now with all of their ramping up of industrial, ramping up with coal, which is what they've got on hand, and they got to use what they got, which is what we did too. We used what we got, and we're still using what we got, but we're not moving on. But China is moving on to the next step, and I think this is a very interesting. You know, who knows what the dynamic will find involved in,
I think it was 5
it's
times
exciting.
the amount of solar panels that Germany has done so far.
Yes, they're the largest,
5 times the
largest in the world.
And every rooftop you're seeing now in China is going to, by mandate, they have to have solar panels.
They don't want to live in pollution. They understand that. They saw what it
What they
did to
do,
other countries.
what they do is they say
they
it
learn.
doesn't matter what it costs. They're putting solar panels on because it's whatever it costs us.
Right.
And they don't do it in money. They do it in life because it's hurting their
Population.
No, it's hurting their renewable energy. What's happening is the pollution is killing their renewable energy,
Which is their people.
which is their people.
And it's making them
So
unhealthy.
it's much cheaper to put solar panels on and wind generators on than it is to kill their solar manufacturing people. That's
and everyone else who
But
is
it's not
operating
just
within
China.
the system.
China is part of our planet, and what they're doing, you can't
It's
say
got ripple effects.
it doesn't matter what people say. Well, their borders, the Chinese and the French and the Germans and the Americans.
Yeah.
We're all part of the same planet.
Mhm.
We're all one. We're all on the same planet or spaceship together.
And this
And
is
if we poison our soil and our water and our air, we will die. That's our life supports. So China understands that. And shouldn't be China, it's somebody on our spaceship
yes.
or on our
Right.
planet
Is doing
who's
the right
saying we
thing.
gotta stop this insanity. So we'll leave this. No matter, they don't look at cost because they don't care about the cost. It's a command economy. It's
Whatever
not
they
based.
have decided is the best way to go, they go
Now,
for it.
here's
The
the
economics is not
here is the rub.
a separate.
Here is the rub. That is to what we talked about with Shelley Silver, and we talk about with campaign finance reform, and we talk about tax structure. There is no way you can say to me, I've got to pay 20% of my income, because you don't have a base on anything. There's no way you can say, you're going to give me a minimum wage, because you don't know what a minimum wage will be. But if you have the Human Renewable Energy Measure, HREM.org, if you had that in the language, then we can say all humanity has to have their basic needs met for 1 hour of labor. And the more equipment and technology we have, the less a human being has to work. And therefore, you'll have a better quality of life. We'll have more with less. And it's not that we're gaining more with less. We're learning how to use the energy that nature's given us from the sun, which is wind and water. The sun gives us every possible thing we need for energy.
Well, it keeps us alive. We are totally sun-driven.
It gives us our food, it gives us our energy, our food, which is energy, our water, which is energy, our shelter, which is energy. And that can be measured in energy units. For the first time in history, we can now measure that. And for this other first time in history, we have the internet, which we can get this into the language. If you choose to do that, you need to do it. No one can do it for you. You need to use your internet. And every means you have, if you go to a gin mill, talk about the Human Renewable Energy Measure. I had people tell me it can't happen. Well, it can't happen if you don't believe it's going to happen. And if you don't help try to make it happen. But and I guarantee you, if you do nothing, nothing will happen. I can guarantee you, if you don't turn on your computer or get the parts you need for the computer, or go ahead and fix your car, it won't get fixed. The computer won't work. You need to do something to make it happen. But if you do something, something may happen. And that's how it is in his comment. At least I got it from him. So that's the point I'm making.
Well, this is a hopeful thing because we all have it in our own minds and hands, and actions to make things
only thing,
go in a advantageous direction for everyone.
the only thing that's hopeful though is I know what I could do and I'll do that. That's not hopeful. I got to do it. My hope is that someone else will say, I will do that. I will take it upon myself to cut the grass or to make sure the place looks neat, pick up the trash around me that nature or another human being made that needs to be cleaned up. I need to neaten up my property, neaten up my house, neaten up my planet, stop polluting. And when you collect stuff and leave it strewn all over the yard, and you are polluting. You're polluting not only your planet, but you're polluting your mind, other people's mind, and their visual pollution, and your own personal visual pollution. You need to think it through and try to get it straightened out. Does that make sense to you, Dennis?
Yes, it does, Jeff.
Are you able to go online and see if we got a decent visual production?
Well, it's very interesting. I am at YouTube right now, and usually we'll always come up with what's live now. I see a lot of shows from Jeff and Susan, but they are not live now. So
Well, try to refresh the screen. Maybe if you refresh it.
I did that, but I'll do it again.
Okay, and then go to YouTube Bridges Programming Live and see what happens. Right now it's showing it live, but I don't show. I only show 2 people on it, and normally those are the same 2 people. Let's see if you can get on that if you could. Anyway, so that's the point I'm making, is that the only hope I have is that someone else will follow through with what we agree upon. But I can't make that happen. I can't control you. They have to do that on their own. And that's my hope, is that people will try to understand the human renewable energy measure and use World Call In for their way of doing it. Next Sunday, we plan on bringing you someone else who talks about local politics. Hopefully she'll be on the program, Tony, something or other. And then next Wednesday, we're going to have Bonnie on from Bonfire, landslides. So those are the lineup for the next week or so. So anyway, that's the point. So what was on our agenda for today?
Well, I'll just read the summary if you want.
Yeah, go right ahead.
We've covered it a little bit so far. And then there were a couple of things that we heard on the news that I wanted to address. Are you departing?
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I called this program China to the Rescue. And I'm not saying that China is, all its intents and purposes are wonderful and positive and et cetera, but I'm saying that this particular choice on the part of a large country with lots of world impact could, as Mr. Fuller said, have a precessional effect that is beneficial, because nature is choosing to enhance this particular activity, the activity of producing more solar panels, because other countries, are conscious worldwide about climate change and the dramatic effects that are already occurring. And people are discussing right now in Paris at the climate change summit. And, the intensity of this discussion, the urgency of this discussion is getting more and more aggressive and more powerful throughout the world. Every time they do it, people take it a little more seriously. There's fewer people poo-pooing the actual effects that we're creating through excess carbon emissions into the atmosphere, more than eventually the oceans will be able to absorb. And at some point, the oceans won't be able to absorb the excess carbon that continues to mount, and will start to do what will be a dramatic expellation or expelling of, or just, there is a planetary reaction to not to the planet not being able to absorb the carbon as it has been doing, the oceans being able to do this is a function of our planet. But there's a certain point where it can't, ameliorate or neutralize what we're doing, and then the impacts will, and what some scientists say, start to go exponentially into. But I don't want to say. I had another point to make. Please hold on to that. So it's important to see that as I was saying, we talked about how there are side effects that are not necessarily the intent of, say, a country like China, but they've made one choice. They're making more and more and more panels because they want to install these, first of all, in their own country, so they don't have to use so much coal and they won't be killing people, their renewable energy, which is people who are working for the country. They don't want them to die and be diseased, and they have to then go through that whole routine with the medical expenses and all that. They don't have to do that. There's all kinds of motives behind this, and then there are also, the really great motives. Every population has, the yin and yang motives, and I'm sure there are people in China who are very, but they want to do what's good and what's good for the environment, what's right for the population, what's good for all the creatures, etc. And plants, and we have to protect our environment, our spaceship, so to speak. But the result of all this solar panel production is that it's going worldwide. And we're feeling the impacts of this because these are cheaper panels. So now companies here in the United States, I'm sure you experienced it, especially on the East Coast, there's been a huge push for renting, for leasing, as they call it, solar panels from a company. And this way you don't get the full impact of the price. But they are buying from China at a very, very low price. I mean, you've been to the dollar stores, everything that's made in China is, being sold here for $1. You can be sure that it's being made there for a few cents. So whatever, they are making these panels with great, quantities and inexpensive. So companies here, they say, oh man, we can buy these really cheap panels, we'll bring them here to the United States, we'll install them on people's houses, and it doesn't, we can make money just getting the little bit of
the millions of dollars
yes,
percentage.
The percentage, which is how do they arrange it? They put the panels on your house, whatever the differential is between what you were paying
right, in other words,
before, and you can explain it better.
There's two things happening. First of all, 15 years ago, China was a poor nation, and they said, well, we're not going to opt into the Clean Air Act. So
we have to ramp up our
production. We have to play your economic game.
But they've gone through this thing in 10 years, what we've been going through for hundreds of years. They really, it's amazing how fast.
The point I'm trying to bring out is this year, this summit, China says, wait a second, I see now we're killing our people. We had so many people in our, so many people in China who work because of the command economy that we can produce equipment and parts and things we can sell to the rest of the world so cheaply. Now our economy, our GDP is that almost to the United States. However,
we're not going to continue with this direction.
The reason why we're doing so well is because we have all these people, human renewable energy people. And what the thing is, the byproduct of that is we need energy to enhance their labor, so we're using coal and things that are polluting. And now that our human renewable energy people are getting sick with cancer and they're getting sick with lung disease, and they're smoking cigarettes like crazy because tobacco companies came in there to make money off their population. regulation. Now China's saying, wait a second, no more smoking. They're coming up with to protect their population.
Because that's their
And
goal.
they're saying it doesn't matter.
That's their renewable
It
energy.
doesn't matter what it costs us to protect our people, our planet. We are now going to join the summit, and we're going to be aggressively putting on renewable energy into our part of our planet. In other words, in our part of our spaceship, they're saying we can't keep on polluting this part of our planet. We have to stop doing that. So they are taking the lead, not the United States.
No.
At any cost.
And as much as we're trying to poo-poo them and say that, oh, look at all the polluting they're doing, we've been doing it for hundreds of years. They did it for 80.
We're actually doing it over there.
Again, we're doing it. Yes.
We are allowing them, and the other part of our spaceship or our planet or our big house we live in,
Right.
the planet is our big house. And we're just saying we're not polluting our room in our house, but we're going to pollute the basement. And we're going to make it
The attic and the
and
backyard and the front yard.
whatever we can pollute, we're going to pollute that area and let people live there. And now that room says, wait a second, you can't do that to us any longer. We are going to start having cleaner technology so we can make sure our people in our room live fine.
And we can make it so cheap that the rest of the world is going to be buying it from us. And then because that's all they understand is making money. And that's what's happening here in the United States. It's taking the form of companies, and there's so many of them. Okay,
The point out is that, so they're making very cheap solar panels. Then our companies who want to make money
and there's so
are
many
buying as much as they could and
at that cheap
making
price.
and giving China great money back, or
Because it's a profit for them.
labor back, and then they lease it. Like Dennis used to say, they'll put that as soon as they can put a meter on the sun.
Well, they've done that.
Here's how they did it. The interest rate is very low, so the company who's got a lot of money can't make money on money
In the bank.
in the bank. So what they've done is they've bought the solar panels and then they lease them
To each
person, and they charge a front load fee for what it costs to put those solar panels on. So they're basically buying these solar panels and storing them on your roofs, and they're charging you an interest rate that maybe 5 or 10% is what they're making on the panels on your roof. So they're making the interest on the solar panels constantly. Instead of making it in the bank on loaning money to people to work, they've now put the meter on the sun, so they're getting paid the same way. So it's all based on the economic.
That's okay within the context of.
I want to get to Shelley Silver.
Oh, okay, this goes to Shelley.
This goes back to Shelley Silver. Shelley Silver and Bruno, Democrat, Republican, we want campaign finance reform. And the reason why we can't get it is because the economic system is controlling the political system. So to run for office, you need money. So they work a deal out with the big companies who make more money by getting laws passed so they can continually pollute and hurt people just to make money. And therefore, so you can't get campaign finance reform in position because it just can't happen because the reform has to be done in the economic system itself. And that can't be accomplished because we don't have a start point, a measurement. That's where the HRM comes in. The Human Renewable Energy Measure comes in to say, all humanity, just like in China, all humanity has to be healthy. They have to work less time, which is not happening yet in China, even though it's coming about because the Chinese economy is growing so fast that they're using equipment to help their economy. So Chinese now are a very affluent economy, and they send people here to buy property and to play the game, the economic game. So more and more energy we use gives people more and more free time. And if you look at the planet as, let's say, one big house we're in, and we divided it in rooms with doors on them instead of looking at it as a planet or a spaceship. Let's look at it as a big house that's floating in space. And each house has different rooms. Let's say there's 200 rooms in this big house, and each room is in a different country. Well, we're willing to go into a room and kill people in the other room because we want their stuff that's in that room, and we want to control those people in that room. But if we look at it as one big house and we destroy that part of that house, you're destroying another part of the house. So we need to come together in cooperation. So all the houses stop polluting one another. We have to come up with the best possible ways we can to live together without killing each other. That's the way we can look at it. Instead of looking at it as a spaceship, you look at it as a huge house with 200 rooms in it, and we're all together. We have to stop killing one another. And we have a lot of people in this house, 7 billion people in this house. And there's 200 rooms in this house, and each room has divisions as well. So look at it as one big house. Does that make sense to you guys, or did I just go off on a tangent?
No, it makes sense to Dennis.
Are you able to get online yet?
Well, I've been trying, but I don't see it right now.
Okay, well, I know we're anyways, so people try to get out there and look at our programming and tell your friends about it. I don't care if you don't talk about us, but I do care if you talk about the Human Renewable Energy Measure. Renew the Earth is a nonprofit company that we are custodians of, and you can contribute to that if you want to. That would help us a little bit because we do everything out of our own time and our own life space, and we can use your help. But more importantly than your money or your is just your time to talk about the issue. That's the most important thing you could possibly do. Is there anything you want to add to this, Dennis? Well, we have an opportunity to do so.
Well, I really like the concept when you talk about the different nations like China. I'm happy in this world we have at least 200 countries in this world, so that way we can just ask who's doing the best job and which countries are doing the worst job. I don't think it was terrible after World War I and World War II when countries said we're not just going to have capitalism, there's going to be socialism. And I'm not saying we have to go all the way to the far extreme of communism, but there were some good advantages of socialism.
Well, hold on, Dennis. I want to interrupt you again. The minute you talk about socialism and communism and capitalism, you're dividing it up in isms. But do you like the concept that suppose we live in we have, let's say, we live in a house, not a planet, a house. And each house has, let's say, 200 rooms in it. Big house, right? And there's 7 billion people in our house.
Right.
Now, when we say we're having a world war, actually we're having a war within our house, that we're killing people within our home. Do you see where I'm going with that?
Oh, yes, that's why I really like the topic that you and Susan were doing, because when we say, thou shalt not kill and love thy neighbor, I don't just mean the neighbor to our house, but even the country, like right across from Florida. Let's say you've got Cuba there. Are they as evil as we say they are?
You brought us back to a separate country. This is not, the country is nothing more than a room in our house. And we have a little water flowing for beauty. There's a little water between us. We'll call that an ocean or a stream or a lake. We may even have a closed door in that because if they're polluting, or they may be worshiping a different belief than we might believe in. So we lock them into a room and close the door like a bad child. But they're all in the same room. So if we pollute their room, or we allow them to die, or we allow them, then they're going to pollute our planet. They're going to pollute not our planet, but our home. So we have to work within our own house to make sure the whole house is working together so we don't damage our home.
Yes, and that's where you made a good point when you talk about not just China, but even over in Germany, the use of solar panels. They are saving our planet much more than countries that want to get that oil from the Middle East and also hydraulically fracture the ground.
But don't we need the hot energy to make the solar panels?
Okay, but once you make those solar panels, once they're up there, then you just start collecting all of that energy. So we already put that, what you're talking about is done with a lot of different things in the world. But one of the best things to construct would be those solar panels. When they're done, you're done putting anything into it. All you're doing now is collecting the energy that those solar panels give you.
Well, I want to give you something else, that the sun also doesn't just create solar electric. It also creates our tides. The sun and the moon creates our tidal waves. So we can collect energy from the sun, but using tidal currents. We could do that, couldn't we?
Yes, anything would be helpful. I love the sun, and when you think about that one star up there, that sun is one of hundreds of billions of stars just in our galaxy. Not millions, hundreds of billions of stars in the Milky Way galaxy, and there's hundreds of billions of galaxies out there. So when you think about our sun and how great it is, well, now NASA is detecting that there's planets like the Earth. There's planets going around those other stars out there.
But that has nothing. But that really has nothing to do with us killing people all around the world. With our neighbor Tony Blair, our next door neighbor, just across a little bit of water from us, in our same building.
Sounding very hawkish these days.
He's saying we got to start a war and kill those people in the other room because they're evil. So that's the
The
point.
other room is another nation.
The other room is another nation.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the other houses out there. Within our own house, he wants to kill other people. We got to stop him from doing that. And we're not saying that it's terribly wrong. We're just saying that we need to stop people from killing each other. It has not. If we go into a cul-de-sac, that there's other houses out there that are whatever they're doing, they may be vacant, or we may want to go and move to those other homes. But we can't. Can we or should we move into those other homes until we get our own house cleaned up? We got to get our own house neatened up before we can do something different. And that's when Tony Blair is saying we got to kill people in our home.
You know, a lot of what happens when you get people in a powerful position like Tony Blair or any person who has attained that kind of notoriety or whatever, that kind of a job, is that they come to these lousy decisions because they have been empowered by their people around them saying, "Oh, you're an expert in this," or "You're an expert in that," and we're asking
not
experts,
experts.
we're training, like Tony Blair. Whatever his training was, whatever his upbringing, it formed his opinions, and because he's in a position of power, people, look to him like an expert. But what happens is when someone is defined in that way, is their minds are slowly closing down to any other possibilities, any other ways of thinking, so that he may be an expert, in understanding, how to use violence to, subdue, some kind of, threat. But he's not an expert he's not opening his mind anymore because he, to other possibilities.
He's smarter than the average person.
And there's actually, we heard a definition for what this is called. It's called, earned dogmatism. And they feel that they have earned the right to be dogmatic about what they have been called an expert in. And they train that way, and they, so they can close their minds to other ideas and other possibilities. This is called earned dogmatism. And if you're listening, you can always tell who these people are because they keep repeating, and of course we repeat a lot of stuff too. We're dogmatic about the age trend, but that's a concept, the human renewable energy measure. But that's a concept that has not even been tried yet. But we have definitely tried violence against violence. Might is right. We tried, starving people, economic starvation.
Money makes the world go around.
Yes.
It does not. That is not true.
We definitely tried these things, and we're being dogmatic about something that hasn't been tried yet. But a lot of people are dogmatic about things that we know are not going anywhere. They're going in circles. Economics, it has its own mind, so to speak. Let the free market do it. Yeah, right. It has it thinks and all this stuff. Don't worry about it. It'll all straighten itself out. Follow the money. Whatever. Where's the dough?
There is one more problem, and the problem is the agreement in language. All languages, there's a certain agreement. If I tell you something is black, I can say it in lots of languages, or white, blanc, or whatever the language is, you know exactly what we're talking about. Now, I can't tell you the shade.
There are precise
words like in temperature. If I tell you it's 100 degrees here in Fahrenheit, you know that it's about 50 degrees Celsius. You can correlate that. And we can get precise measurements because of our language. However, if I tell you that I love that person, there is no precise device on how much do you love somebody.
That's individual.
Because that's individual choice.
Right.
So language, because of our languages, it becomes subjective. So we have a few objective points in language that says temperature, we agree on time. They are agreements. It has nothing to do with anything more than our agreement, and we pinpointed certain agreements in science. What the HRM does, the Human Renewable Energy Measure does, is say all humanity exactly has to have their certain amount of energy units for food, water, and shelter. And within a basic need of lifetime, which is guaranteed, about 80 years of life, more or less. Some people will live to 120 or 110, not many. And some people will die at age birth and age 60 in between.
Right.
But the number 80 is a good number for science. The number of energy units for food. It's a good average that we can all agree upon. Just like the color white or black or red or green. You can envision this. Now you're envisioning of what a green color is or a brown color is. There are different shades in your vision and my vision. I want a green car, where there may be 30 different colors of green. Which color do you like better? Again, it's a shade, and that is what's subjective, and that's where semantics come in. So when I try to explain something to you about the Human Renewable Energy Measure, you see it differently than I'm explaining it. So what I'm saying to you is a measurement. You don't institute it, it's a measure. And once the measurement is our vocabulary, and we can take that just like black or white or temperature, then we can figure out the tax structure. We have honest politicians. The money becomes honest because we know we have a starting point.
And the premise is correct. It's preserving life.
We don't have a start point to preserve humanity and our planet or life support systems, education, food, and shelter. And
we're not just talking about people. Once you stabilize the people, and that's what China's trying to do now. They're trying not to kill their people off. They're going to put renewable energy in to replace all this coal. Eventually it will, because they're going to have so much of it. They have so much land, they can do it. Once you stabilize the population, then the population has the free time, essentially, and the state of mind to look around and say, okay, I really love this forest. I don't want to see these animals displaced and gone extinct. I want, to protect other life forms on it. We don't have that luxury when being the dominant species on this planet right now, and so many of us in desperation subsistence farming and being displaced, and so many refugees all around the world now. This is a phenomenon that it's more aggressive than ever before in history. There were many more of us than ever before in history. And,
as far as we know, I mean.
as far as we know, as far as recorded history that we know about.
That's a big
and right, history is its own story. But if we don't stabilize what people are doing, we cannot protect the rest of life on this planet, because people, they're imperative, they want to survive, and they will do anything that they have to do in order to do that.
Dennis, do you have anything you want to add to what we're talking about?
No, actually, you're doing great. If I add something, I'll just get off topic.
No, actually, everything you say is on topic. The problem we're running into is the semantics of it. We definitely need campaign finance reform. How do we get there? Why can't we? We definitely need to figure out a way to, stop polluting and stop killing each other. We got to figure out a way to stop dividing isms like socialism, capitalism, communism, or even dividing our country up into different groups. So talking about world wars. They're not world wars, they're inter-house wars. This planet is
room to room.
It's room to room. It's just like living, like,
in an apartment.
Look, for instance, how many rooms in your house, Dennis? Give me an idea. 5 rooms, 10 rooms, 8 rooms. Give me a number.
I'll say
8 rooms. Okay, supposing we take one room and we have a person living with you, and we decide to poison that person or bomb that person out. What would that do to the rest of your house?
it would not be good for the rest of the house.
Right. Well, that's what's happening in our planet, on our house. We have, let's say, 200 rooms. Each room is
Billions of rooms.
We have 7 billion people on the planet, but we have divided into different rooms, and there's about 200,
Nations.
and there's having 200 rooms, and we're calling each one of those rooms a country. And we're saying, well, we're going to make that room inhabitable, so we have people running out of that room. It's inhabitable. Uninhabitable.
Right.
And they're running to other rooms, and other rooms are closing their doors, and we don't want you guys here. So they're living in the hallway, and they're messing up the houses because they have no place to go to the bathroom. They have no way of getting food because they're living in the hallways. There's no place. The rooms are not letting them in.
Right.
Now, is that a good way to run your household?
No, it's not.
Well, that's what we're doing with our planet. Our planet is our house. We're floating in outer space. We can even call it a spaceship. And if we pollute, supposing we start breaking the windows or sealing off the house so we don't get air into certain rooms.
Because we're trying to keep out all these aggressive people who don't have no place to go, then we're going to suffocate ourselves.
Right, exactly. So
You need to
So-
come into some kind
right.
of new premise about how you're going to interact with everyone else, on the planet. We are not isolated from each other anymore. The distances between nations are not creating that kind of buffer zone anymore. The oceans don't either. We can cross them in a couple of hours with our planes. We can, cross them in an instant with our internet. With our minds, we can be broadcasting anywhere in the world. So, communication has opened the world everywhere. There is no, essentially, no place to hide, which is an interesting, kind of a concept at this point. We have to face each other and understand our commonality. And by thinking about this, we start to define something. We start to define something that needs to be named. We start to define something that actually we understood way back at the beginnings of our tribal beginnings, we understood that we need to take care of our tribe, etc. We would share everything.
We make sure the room we
This
live
has
in
to
is,
be,
the room we live in, we have a place for our trash, we recycle things, we have a way of moving from room to room to see other friends in different parts of the room. That's what basically our planet is our home. And the home now has about 7 billion people in it.
right,
And-
but it's a tribe.
It's a tribe, we're all
We're all
together.
the species, the same species, all
We're not
descended from.
Democrats, we're not Republicans, we're not socialists, we're not communists, we're not Marxists. We are people, human beings who have to work in cooperation.
In order
We
to-
have to stop getting rid of our life support systems and killing one another.
So what I'm trying to say, what we're trying to say, is that by thinking about this, each individual thinking about this, and where we can imagine commonality, which we can do very well. We are very good with our imaginations. We begin to define something new. We begin to define what our common needs are as a species, how this can be met worldwide. And once we come to that this needs to be defined, then we come to a word for it. We've suggested a word, the HREM, Human Renewable Energy Measure,
Because it
which
can't be
measures
measured.
our needs in our economic
Not all
system
wants are needs.
for a minimal amount of labor within either intellectual, physical, or both within the economic system. Once you're mature and and education is part of this. You can always get more education too, which would be very advantageous in making more people technically and intellectually exposed to ideas that they don't even have the time or the access to at this point. It will open lights and doors and possibilities to more of the population. We have a huge population, huge potential for creativity that's not being utilized and not being.
And the potential is to help all humanity, not to curtail it.
Right.
That's the point. If you give people the ability to use their intellect, to use the internet, to use other people's, build on other people's ideas, we can do so.
We can't leave this kind of thing that's so important up to gods and immortals and outer space people or the elites and the power structure. This is something that has to be defined through the population, like any important measurement in history that we use all the time. We know what they are. Time is one of them. And that wasn't done. That didn't begin in a government with a bunch of people. That began within the general population, measuring what was needed. And what do we need now? We need to meet our common needs within our economic system.
I want to thank you.
Our common needs. Food, shelter, education. Let's define
Dennis, thank you, Susan. Thank you, listeners, for listening. Thanks again for listening.
Energy, it all comes down to new energy. You wonder where the money's gone, here's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy. We can get our energy from corn and grass and trees, even try to convert to biofuels. Break loose from the stranglehold of oil companies. Renewables can heal the world. We're here to spread renewable energy. Energy. It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone. Well, there's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy.